Hello and welcome to Breed and Grow Weekly Financial Talk Point. Previously, we looked at the interests. How important are the interests? Now, we would like to turn to the planning. How do we plan? Yes, I have the right interests. Yes, I have the clear interests. How? Probably I'm also aware of how I should proceed, how I should realize my interests. Now we turn to planning. After you're clear, after you're right about the interests, you need to plan. But what is to plan? That is what we are discussing. What is to plan? Why plan? And by the way, why is planning not as popular as one ought to think? With me, like always, I'm with Eliab Wilson, my uncle, the CEO of Breed and Grow Business One. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we'd like to start right away. What is planning? What is to plan?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Silvinde. I won't per se give a definition for planning, but I'll give a philosophical understanding of what it is to plan. Planning is actually the activities that we do to help us have an understanding or arrive at an understanding of the elements that make up a journey.
Okay.
Yeah? Because planning usually is involved where there is a journey.
Okay.
Where one intends to move from a certain origin to a certain destination. Now, the activities which we do in trying to understand, to establish an understanding of the various elements that make up the journey and how they interrelate with each other, how they complement each other, how they could antagonize each other. That understanding, the establishment of that understanding is what we call planning. What I could call planning.
Okay. Did you say a series of activities?
A series of activities.
Okay.
Call them elements.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before a plan is on the paper, on a piece of paper, before you enter it into your laptop, planning is a series of activities.
Sure, true.
How would that be relevant to a financial, to a financial field, or to a field, to an area of financial development?
See, I want to give you an example. For example, last time we looked at interests, establishing the right interests. Mr. Ogorobi led us through that so well.
Okay.
Establishing the right interests, making sure our interests are very clear.
I need to tell the viewer here, please check out our YouTube clips or YouTube videos on interests. That was our previous catch point. Please go on.
Yes, so what we saw in the previous week was that it's very important for one to establish not only clear goals, but those goals or interests or targets must be the right ones.
Okay.
But you see, that's not enough. It's you knowing where you want to go and where you want to go being the right destination does not really say that you can you're actually going to get there. Yes.
Why is planning important? Why should I plan?
The reason for planning can actually be derived or is derived from the philosophical understanding that we came up with for planning. Because we say that planning the activities, series of activities that we undertake to establish an understanding of the various elements that shape a journey from a certain origin to a certain destination. Yeah, so this is the biggest challenge, that we live in a space of limited resources. And the limitation could not be in insufficiency, but is more tied to the competition.
Okay.
Yeah. For every resource that you look at, there's someone else that is looking at the same. So it's constant competition. So with that, it is always the best outcome for that kind of a person who goes to efficiently utilize whichever resource they come across. And one of the biggest resources being time, the other being life, and the other being money. Or life and time could be the same resource, depending on one's school of philosophy. But the other is money. Yeah? Then relationships, or those are resources that we exploit. So it is always to the best of the person who efficiently, maximally utilizes or exploits the resources. Yep. And the only way to arrive at that is through planning. Planning helps us to establish efficient means and approaches. First of all, because once you establish the understanding of the elements, among the elements are the resources, among the elements is yourself. Among the elements is the playing space. So once you establish a clear understanding of those, then you go to the next stage of understanding or trying to establish an understanding of how you can now interplay each of these elements, yourself, the resources, the playing space, how you can manipulate each of those resources in the most efficient way. Efficient, I understand it best, the word efficient, I understand it most in the physics perspective, where they say a machine is considered to be efficient, or its efficiency is computed by considering the work output out of the work input. How much you get vis-a-vis what you put in. Yes. So exactly, the exploitation of these resources must be efficient. We must have maximum output for minimum input. Yeah.
That's why planning is important.
It's very important.
Efficiency.
Efficiency.
It gives you the balance between input. It gives you the correlation between input-output relationship.
Yes, the efficient relationship. Efficient.
Okay. What I've observed, and I think popularly observed, is that despite the fact that planning is that important, it could be famous, but not popular. Why?
Interesting. Because the response is actually simple. Because it's not easy.
Okay.
It's not easy.
Okay.
It's not easy to establish a plan. It's not easy to live by a plan.
Okay.
It is easier to live without one. It is easier to live without one, and that's why it's not popular.
It's more comfortable.
Yes.
It's more comfortable to live without one.
Yeah. It could not be easy, but it's easier.
Okay. Okay.
I'll give an example. Let's take an example. For example, as we seated here, if you had all of a sudden shouts and gunshots, then people shouting, run! Just as we hear shooting, and that happens. What would be the most immediate thing if the next shot you had is just at the entrance, at the gate to our offices?
Jump
And run
over the chairs
to nowhere. In fact, you run to wherever your mind can think of. And you see, that happens without thinking. And you have a goal. In all that you're doing, you have a goal, which is to preserve life. Yeah. So you run out of impulse. You will skip the barbed wire fences. We have the razor wire on the wall. You will run and jump over that wall, not even knowing it's about a few meters high, or a number of meters high. The razor wire, it will cut through your skin. You won't even feel it. And you see, that's because the mind has been triggered to preserve life. Yeah. Now we have another scenario where the scenario of Stephen Kiprotich, who wakes up in the morning and understands there's the Olympics competition, or Joshua Cheptegei, there's Olympics competition, I have to go and run. So he goes out to the field, on your marks, get set, and the bullet, and he starts. Now the trigger for all this running is the same. Bullet, gunshot. Running, different. He's running on a track, you're running on a field to nowhere. He's running in a specific direction, you're running in any direction your mind thinks of when you're running in the other first situation.
So,
now, before you come in,
okay.
I'd like to pose a question. Between the runner in the first situation of the random gunshots and the runner Stephen Kiprotich or Joshua Cheptegei on an Olympics track, which one do you think is easier, in your opinion?
I think, in my humble opinion, the former is easier.
Okay.
The former is easier. You just run anyhow to know where it is not.
Exactly, actually you're right. It is easier to run in war than to run on a track.
Yeah.
Because you know why? When you're running in war, it's not you running, it's the adrenaline in you that is running. So it's like you're on a drug.
Okay.
Self-administered drug by the brain and the body. So you keep running. That's why you won't feel the cuts and everything. And you only feel them later.
Just for clarity here, very quickly, is there a difference between planning and budgeting?
But budgeting is simply an element or a tool in planning.
Okay.
It's one of the tools that we use while planning.
All right.
And if you come, I think in the next segment,
Okay.
Mr. Francis will be taking us through the stage of budgeting.
All right.
But I was telling you, still giving about these two illustrations.
Okay.
Yeah? The one running in war and the one running on a truck. And I said that it is easier running in war. I didn't say easy, but easier running in war than running on a truck. But you see, that does not make it the most preferred or preferable.
Okay.
Because it's not the best. It's not the better between the two.
All right.
Easier does not always mean better. Yeah?
Difference. So much difference.
Easier does not necessarily mean better. It is easier to run in war than to run on a truck, but it is not better.
Okay.
This is why, when you're running in war, you have no specific direction. Yeah? Two, since you are not in agreement with the person who started to shoot for them to start shooting, you have no agreement when they'll stop. So you don't know when actually the shooting will stop. Now, good thing about running on a truck, you know when to start and you know when it will end. For every lap that Joshua Cheptegei makes on the truck, he knows it is less by one. The remaining are less by one. Different from running in war. You don't know how much more you have to run.
Okay.
And that's the difference between living a planned life and living a life that has no plan.
Okay.
Yeah? You keep chasing without knowing when the chasing will end. With a plan, every milestone covered is part of a brick laid onto, moving to the next level. Every brick you pile elevates you to a certain stage. With running in war, it's like laying bricks all over the space, empty space, not knowing the limits. Yeah? The other thing is that I don't know of anyone who has ever come out and said, I'm a master, I'm the world champion for running in war. I know how to run and survive in war. I've not had anyone come out and claim that.
Okay.
I've seen people come out and say, I've mastered how to run on a truck.
Okay.
Usain Bolt came out recently and was telling us the tricks and techniques that he would use after training. That's a good thing about riding on a truck. That there is a process you can subject yourself to called training, which builds your resilience, builds your stamina of running on the truck. So eventually you master how to run on a truck.
Talking of training brings me now to the how. The how bit. So in other words, you have said, in your own words, you're saying or implying that it cannot be planning unless there is training. So planning is that rigorous?
Yep, planning is that rigorous and the training is in a number of ways. One, like I said, it's not easier establishing a plan. So the first training that one requires is actually to know how to establish a plan.
We should go there. How then should we plan?
Coming there. Second training that one badly needs is the training on how to keep to the plan.
Okay.
How to keep to the plan.
Besides knowing how to plan, how to keep to the plan.
Yes.
Is another thing.
Yes, and how to keep manipulating the plan.
Okay. Okay, please go ahead.
So, how do we come up with a plan, or how do we plan. Like I said in the introduction, like I said, and when you asked about what planning is, I said planning is
Series of activities.
yes, that help us to establish an understanding of the elements, various elements that make up a journey. So planning usually relates to a journey. Yeah. So every journey has 4 major elements.
Okay.
Could be more, but I'll talk about the major ones, the 4 major ones. First is the destination. Every journey has a destination. Now,
is that equivalent to starting with an end in mind?
with an end in mind.
Okay.
Yep. So every journey has a destination. And every journey has an origin.
Okay.
And every journey has a participant, the one who is moving or going through the journey. Now, every journey has the other elements. I'll give you an example. If you wanted to go to the United Kingdom, yeah? 2 things so far have been mentioned. 1, United Kingdom.
Yeah.
2, you. Yeah? Very important point. Destination and the person who intends for the destination. It's very important that you understand who you are.
Okay.
Because a plan that works for Peter could not work for Elijah, could not work for Francis, could not work for another person. Yeah? So it's so important to understand who you are. For example, if someone needs to go, if the president of Uganda needs to go to the United Kingdom, being a diplomat of that kind of status, I'm doubtful if they need to get a visa first. Not so sure. But I'm doubtful. Even if he did need one, I don't think the process he would go through could be the same that I would go through as an ordinary Ugandan who intends to go to the United Kingdom. Sure?
Yeah.
So it's very important for every journey to understand who you are. Because that is so important and says a lot about the kind of plan that you need. Yes?
Yeah.
Then the other thing is where you're coming from.
Point of origin.
Point of origin. For example, if I get to go to the United Kingdom and I'm coming, let's say, from the Scandinavian countries, I might not need a visa. Yeah? Or if I need a visa, it could not be the same visa that a Ugandan needs. Someone from Uganda needs to go to the United Kingdom. Yeah? So the origin.
Where am I?
Where am I? There's an illustration I could give. Just imagine you're going to the United Kingdom. Destination known. Clear. I'm going to London. Destination clearly known. Where am I going in London? Oxford University. What for? Study, get my doctorate in English language. Like you're an English major. You know that the destination clearly. It's the right one because it's for the right purpose, in line with your skill set and everything. Yeah? And you go through everything else. Get the visa, get the passport, get everything. Yeah? Get the air ticket and you're aboard. Now, it's a long journey.
8 hours from Kampala.
From Entebbe, yeah, to Heathrow, yeah. So you're flying Kampala, Heathrow, and quite a distance. So you take a nap along the flight. Now, in the middle of the nap, you just hear a sound, and what has happened? The plane has just crashed in the middle of a certain ocean. Now, God is so good, you're among the survivors, and you're holding on to some aluminium plate. Yeah? In the middle of the water. Now, when you look to the left, to the right, to front, to north, to the south, all you can see is water. You know where you are going. Where?
London.
To be specific, Oxford University. Probably you even know the hall of residence. Yeah? But this is where you are, in the middle of nowhere. Question, and you know who you are. I'm an English major, going to Oxford, blah, 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 blah. What's the problem? And what would be the first thing you ask yourself?
Where am I?
Where am I? So important to know your origin. We always receive clients at Breed and Grow making inquiries and seeking help and guidance on how to improve and better their financial lives. But usually we ask them, can we have a look at how you've been living your financial life? Could be documented, you could give us a narrative. Because we need to understand, where are you at? And where do you want to go? Then who are you that we're trying to help? Then what are the other factors that we need to consider? And those are the 4 elements that make up a journey.
Okay.
And those are the 4 elements that we look at when developing or establishing a plan.
Where am I going?
Yes.
Destination. Where am I? Point of origin.
Who am I?
Who am I?
And what are the other implications of this journey?
Okay.
For example, like the illustration we gave of the journey to the United Kingdom, one of the
You need a
passport,
you need a visa, you need a boarding pass,
you need a ticket, air ticket,
and
that is if you're flying from Uganda. Could be different from someone moving from the Scandinavian countries, or someone moving from, let's say, Liverpool going to London. Could be different. Needs could be different. Okay. So you need to understand where you're coming from, who is moving, to where are they going.
All right.
So therefore, what are the implications? What are the resources needed or required to make this journey a success? An efficient success. Okay. Because when we stop at living it as a success, then we only talk about effectiveness.
Efficiency, which you talked about, you hinted on efficiency at why plan, I think.
Yes.
Why plan?
Yes. Because the two words could be sounding similar but different in the very sense. Effectiveness and efficiency. Okay. Effectiveness is all about getting things done. Efficiency is at what cost? Okay. We looked at, in the beginning of this video, we have looked at majorly 4 questions. What is a plan? Why should we plan? Why is planning not as popular as it should be? And then, how should we plan? But before we close, I would like you to quickly, if my destination is to make WhatsApp foods, quickly get through the 4 steps. I want to make WhatsApp foods, one of the leading restaurants, maybe in Kampala. Quickly, what are the four steps? How do I realize the 4 steps? Starting point, establish what leading restaurant means in Kampala means. Destination. Okay. What we looked at last time. Where means you mean implication. What it is. Okay. What it is. Okay. That's what we looked at last time in the previous segment of last week. Right. That is understanding the interest or the goal or the target. Okay. Understand the goal, understand the target. Okay. Yeah? Okay. After establishing the target, then we understand who intends to attain the target. Okay. Self-assessment. All right. Yeah? All right. Then where am I? All right. Yeah? Then what else is implied? Okay. Yeah? Where the implications would go as far as the money, the promotion, if you do some promotion. For example, where do you want to establish it? Okay. So very important. Right. And what are the implications of establishing it in that very geography or all that? All right. So establish the interest. Right. Self-assessment. All right. Know where you are. All right. I think that also could be partly, with self-assessment, could fall partly in understanding where you are. Right. Then what are the resources there for? I want to go to point B, I'm at point A. All right. Yes? Then I know point B so well. I know point A so well. Now I need to know the distance between and what other forces could be along the journey. All right. This has been the weekly Breed and Grow Financial Talk Point. We've been looking at planning. What is planning? Why should I plan? Why should you plan? How should I plan? Why isn't planning popular? He told me that it is unpopular, planning is unpopular because it's not as easier, as non-planning would be. This has been the weekly financial talk point from Breed and Grow Business Home. See you in the next episode when we shall be looking at budgeting. Thank you and bye-bye.